Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. Now, as we've already discussed, the police are cutting back on operations. They just cannot investigate all crimes. They've said in the northeast, for example, they're virtually giving up on any crime that is defined as minor. Be a free-for-all. However, I think there's going to be one area in which the police will be incredibly busy. They will find the time. They will find the resources, even though they won't be able to do anything about proper crime. They will investigate hurty fifis and people who assume without any evidence at all that you are talking about them. And the reason is that Humza Yousaf's hate crime bill is rearing its ugly head again. And again, I think this is another one that may well be Section 35, as it is one of the worst drafted laws ever to come in. It is an absolute Orwellian law. It's virtually unpoliceable. It makes criminals out of everyone. If you're a comedian, for example, you can no longer make a joke just about anyone or any subject. It's got no definition of what hate is. It's got no definition of what an insult is. It's basically saying that you cannot be insulted. And yet I would suggest that being insulted or being insulted and having the power to insult is not only something that you should be allowed to do, it should almost be obligatory. And yet he's saying that this has got to come back. He's got to bring this terrible bill through, try and get it into law. So we'll take a look at this, but it's one of those that absolutely positively must be rejected by one and all. Here goes. Now, before we get into this, I'm just going to give you an example of how this can work. This is how this hate law is so badly drafted. I could be sitting in my own front room, talking with my wife, just the two of us, no one else there. Somebody could walk past my door. I could look up to them and then just carry on the conversation with my wife. That person could have seen me look at them and then talk to my wife and might assume that I was saying something hateful about that person walking past. They could then phone the police, and the police would, according to this law, be forced to come out and question me and my wife about the subject of a private conversation in the privacy of our home because a stranger walking past had some hurty fifis. That is what this law, as it's drafted, is doing. And the police are obliged by this law to investigate. Well, I tell you now, this law comes in, I am just going to be on the police. I will be on the police phone. I'll be on the phone to the police, 30 times a day. And they will be obliged 30 times a day to investigate this crime. And if they don't, then they are breaking the law, because that is there. Any hate crime must, by this law, must be investigated. And we all need to do it. Millions upon millions of us ringing up 5, 10, 20 times every single day. We've got to do the one thing that politicians absolutely hate, because they can put up with spite, they can put up with insults, they can put up with name calling, but there's one thing politicians cannot abide, they cannot deal with, and that's ridicule. And we need to ridicule them. We need to ridicule this law. And the moment if this bill becomes law, just phone up every time. Oh, he said something, I want to investigate. It was a hate crime. And give them details. It was a hate crime. It was a hate crime. It was a hate crime. Constantly. And when the police are dealing with 1 million phone calls a day about hate crimes, and they're going, why are no crimes being investigated? Said, well, because of this hate crime law. You insisted in this stupid hate crime law that hate crimes have by law to be investigated. We must investigate them. We're doing that. We can't investigate anything else. Unless you want to supply us with 1 million policemen, we're incapable of doing our job. And then eventually the hate crime bill would just go. And the police won't even bother investigating it. Anyway, we'll have a look at it and just laugh at it. But it is an iniquitous piece of legislation. And I do think seriously that this is one of those where... let's just pull that down a bit. This is one of those where Westminster would quite rightly do a Section 35 on it and pull it, because it is just so badly worded, so badly thought out. Anyway, Humza Yousaf's hated crime bill to return just as Police Scotland stop investigating minor crimes, or indeed major crimes in some cases. The controversial bill was originally passed through Holyrood in 2021, but the implementation has been delayed due to concerns from Police Scotland about how it will work. Even Police Scotland don't want this. Police Scotland know. What a pile of utter horseshit this act is. Humza Yousaf's controversial hate crime bill, which was labelled a threat to free speech, is set to finally be reintroduced in Parliament over the next year. However, concerns have been raised about how officers will be able to police it, considering they're already rolling back on investigating minor crimes. The original legislation was passed through Holyrood back in 2021. Despite criticism, it could lead to Scots being prosecuted for breaking the law in their own home if they are reported for stirring up hate. Define hate. There's no definition of hate. It could mean a criminal record for someone if they make an innocent throwaway remark with their friends. But it had been paused due to concerns from Police Scotland that officers would struggle to enforce it due to a lack of training and time constraints. However, now Mr Yousaf has announced that it is back on the agenda. Well, I tell you what, the first thing I will do is I will phone up the police and I will ask Humza Yousaf. I will inform them that Humza Yousaf has threatened me. He's made racial comments and I want him investigated. And we need 5.5 million people in Scotland to do that. Day one. If that comes in, day one. 5.5 million people in Scotland, every single person, ringing up the police, complaining about Humza Yousaf, demanding he is investigated. It could lead to even more strain on struggling cops who've already been told not to investigate minor crimes in the North East, with this covering some garden thefts, incidents of which there's no eyewitnesses or leads for officers to follow. Massive funding cuts from the Scottish Government were blamed for this. Also, just as an aside, a simple thing is deny it. Just deny. We've had a notification that you said something hateful. I said, that's an interesting allegation, officer. Do you have any proof? Well, that's what we're here to get. You want proof of what? We want proof that you said something. I didn't say anything. Well, we've got somebody said you did. Well, they're lying. And I think it's hate. It's obvious because they hate me. Go and investigate them. It's so stupid a law. It's so stupid. Anyway, now Police Scotland will have to deal with a new law that has extended the definition of a hate crime, with this including prejudice on the basis of disability, sexual orientation, transgender identity, variation in sex characteristics, and now ageism. Well, you see, trouble is, I knew a friend of mine. He's a one-legged gay man who identifies as a woman. He's an old fart, and he's got a very weird cock. And we laugh at him all the time. You know, we call him knobbly. You know, you can't say things like that anymore. Oh, you're going to prison for that one. You know, it's a load of shit. It's horse shit, isn't it? It's horse shit. It now means that if you call someone a grumpy old man, it could lead to a criminal conviction. Silly old tart, more like. It also created new offences of stirring up hatred, whatever that means, which previously applied only to race, meaning Scotlanders could break the rules in the privacy of their own home. New guidance has disclosed... See, that's what I was saying at the beginning. New guidance has disclosed that age is become a protected characteristic from next year. Oh, that's excellent. If age is a protected characteristic, then anyone who's, say, I don't know, 30, can go along and say, I'd like my pension, please. Well, you're too young. Whoa! That sounds like ageism to me. Policeman, arrest this person, question this person. Do you see the problem they have here? This is what happens when you let the lunatics run the fucking asylum. The Scottish Tories blasted the reappearance of one of the most controversial bills to be passed through Holyrood. As they pointed out, it was astonishing for it to be brought in while police forces were already struggling to fight crime due to funding cuts. Justice spokesman Russell Findlay said, Humza Yousaf again confirms how out of touch he is with Scotland's overworked police officers by expecting them to implement his flawed bill, which threatens free speech and common sense. That he does this in the same week that Police Scotland say they will no longer investigate some crimes is astonishing. The Scottish Conservatives would stand up for free speech and ease pressure on officers by ditching the legislation. We actually need a First Amendment in this country. We need the right to say anything. Anything. And anything you say. And even if it's incredibly insulting, it doesn't matter. You must have the right to say it. That's what they have. In America, you've got the right, you've got the First Amendment. And you know what really backs up the First Amendment is the Second Amendment. And we need those two amendments in this country. Call them different things, obviously, but we need those laws. Mr. Findlay did welcome the promise to bring in body-worn cameras for every cop, a policy which was proposed at the Scottish Tory conference. And you can guarantee that they'll somehow be the most unreliable cameras ever. And somehow, it wasn't recording when the suspect fell over 14 times. Police officers will welcome that Humza Yousaf has heeded the Scottish Conservative calls to finally provide him with this vital equipment, years after its standard use across the rest of the UK. However, his pledge contained no details whatsoever, and he needs to say exactly when these cameras were reintroduced. And I will just put as a little caveat on that, the police in England wear body cameras now as standard, and that's excellent. And they say it's for your protection as well as for theirs, and that's brilliant. So what you do is you pull out your phone as soon as you interact with them, and you record. And they don't like it, but you say, but officer, it's for your protection as much as for mine. You have a camera, and now so do I. And as long as the pair meet up, then will there be no problems whatsoever, will there? And at that point, the police change their attitude remarkably. Always record visually and audibly the police in any interaction with the police. Always record them. Make sure you do. They don't like it, but fuck them. Anyway, I shall round off and I shall come up. Now, on a serious note, I was sort of treating that a bit light and that, but on a serious note, it is an appalling piece of legislation. But I do think it will struggle to get through. I think there'll be a lot of people putting things up left, right and centre, trying to time it out. I think there may even be people within the SNP who see this as bad legislation. Certainly someone, I think, like Fergus Ewing, he may well reject it. I'm starting to think now Kate Forbes and her cronies may reject it. And it only takes a few and they switch over and it's gone. It's dead in the water. And that way. And even if it gets through, there's a good chance it'll be Section 35'd by Westminster. And even if it doesn't get through, if it becomes law, if it is a thing, it's so easy to break this law. And when I say break the law, I don't mean break the law. I mean to use the law to your advantage, shall we say. And you just simply, every time Humza Yousaf says anything in public, phone the police and say, you found that to be hate speech, and get millions of people every time. They have by law to investigate as part of this speech. So every time he utters anything, they'll have to go along and interview him by law. And let's do that. And all of them. Whenever any one of the SNP says anything, and Mary Black won't be able to help herself, will she? Any of them, say it, report it. And all day, every day, keep looking for any slights, ageism, colorism, racism, anything. And as soon as you hear it, phone up. Wear the police out. Show the crime rate travelling through the roof under the SNP. Because all these crimes being statistically taken. And very soon that law will be bounced back. We can win. And do you know why we can win? Simple. And I say it many times. We are many. They are few. We will win. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope this video, because I've enjoyed doing this video, so I really hope that this particular video has earned you the right to hit that button. Go on, subscribe, let's spread the truth, let's keep going, let's keep pushing, let's keep these people honest, let's keep the pressure on them. Please hit the subscribe button, make the channel bigger, make the truth louder. Till next time, stay safe, stay well, and remember, if the bill goes through, we have the power. At the moment the bill goes through, we win. Bye.